So I went straight from Jurassic Park to book 2 in the series, which is called The Lost World by Michael Crichton. This book is set a few years after the end of the first one, and it only has one reoccurring character from the earlier cast, which is the mathematician. So it really begins, I suppose, when he is approached by kind of the rising star young paleontologist person who's really interested in this idea, what he calls a lost world theory, the idea that there's some kind of pocket area in the world that has been so isolated from outside influence that maybe creatures like dinosaurs can still exist. And of course, the mathematician does his best to kind of convince him that this can't possibly be true, and I think not in small part because the guy references strange creatures that have been found in the areas close to where Jurassic Park had been. So keep in mind that Jurassic Park is not something that everybody knows about. In general, people who were involved tried to keep the entire thing very hush-hush. So the student Levin asked him, okay, well, if he can find proof that there are these kinds of creatures and so on, would he be interested in joining him on an expedition to explore the place? And he agrees that if he ever finds definitive proof, then yes, he will go along. So moving along a little bit more time, the guy does actually manage to discover what he thinks is an island where there may be dinosaurs. From the mathematician's point of view, it's a place where, probably the company that created Jurassic Park did a lot of their additional experimentation, in order to produce dinosaurs. Only he makes the student who's, Levin, anyway, he makes the kind of stupid decision to go on his own. He thinks he's really prepared, but gets into serious trouble and loses all contact, so that all the rest of the main characters in this book decide that they have to go after him. They get a SOS signal from him and basically set out with the equipment that he originally ordered, these armored cars with all this fancy backup stuff, in order to try to save his life. So main cast includes the mathematician, the guy who helped create the vehicle, design and put together the vehicles that Levin ordered, and that guy's assistant because he's an engineer, and this female researcher called Harding who studies lions and stuff in Africa, and these two stowaway kids. The kids are even more annoying than the kids in the first set, because at least the kids in the first book were there because their grandfather invited them, so it wasn't they willfully threw themselves into danger. The kids in this one had to be one of my least favorite features of the book, because they stow away on this trip without any forethought, even though it's pretty obvious it's going to be dangerous, and then when they get there, obviously they want to come home, because it's very dangerous, and you just kind of create trouble for everybody else. And again, I think the girl kid, because it was her terrible idea, and then it's also her who's wailing about wanting to go home or whatever when they do get there. But I think maybe the author got some comments on the female characters in the first book or something, because I think they maybe swung almost a little bit too far the other way in this book. So Harding is a very, she plays a much, much more active role in this story than any of the female characters did in the previous book. If anything, I think she kind of single-handedly rescues quite a lot of them, and literally the gun-toting, motorcycle riding person. But which would have been really cool, except that she makes this one really, really dumb mistake of getting on a strange man's boat just because he tells her that he's a friend of her friend, and then telling said strange man while you're out in the middle of nowhere that not only does no one know you came, no one is expecting you. So what do you think is going to happen? Yeah, that seems like an excessively stupid thing for someone who is supposed to be clever and independent and stuff to do. Oh, so the bad guys in this book are again the same genetics, like representatives from the same genetics company in the first book who, set the spy, only this time, like, the main person behind the scenes is coming in person because he's still really determined to get his hands on some actual dinosaurs from the company that is now defunct, in order to save his job and everything. Okay, I guess that was a kind of a hodgepodge of comments already and maybe not a very clear summary, but I feel like there was just a lot less meat to this particular book. Like it was largely action and fighting and not, in my opinion, a great deal of actual plot. Like it seemed a bit like a vehicle for the author to express some views about people and science and everything. Like it keeps returning to the theme of extinction, but by the end of the book I'm still not really sure what it's trying to say, except that maybe there is no actual answer. Like I think it wasn't nearly as well put together as book one, and just in general left me feeling kind of disappointed, I suppose. Yeah, and I have to mention, like, one more reason I think they may have swung a little bit too far the other way on their female characters was, like, specifically there was, like, one scene where they had the, like, Harding giving the little girl, like, the child, a gun and having her shoot at a raptor, like, from the back of a moving motorcycle. Like, and this is a little kid, so you've never handled a gun before, and they're having her like actually be fast at it or good at it and whatever, and it's just so wildly unrealistic that it annoyed me.